It's not impossible, charting at your destiny. It's not impossible.
Good evening, everybody. This is Simon Okelo with One Vibe Africa, and we are at Cafe Avole on Rainier Avenue, Rainier and Holy, in Seattle, Washington. And I'm sitting here with Catherine
Nyarumbwa.
Sawa. And I'm also here with a crowd of amazing people who attended Avole night. Can I just hear your guys' voice for a second? Thank you all so much for attending the first Avole night after a long time. For our audiences who are watching this from Kenya or any other part of the world, Avole night is a night where we invite young professionals from the African community who come together to have food and connect and just build a community. Before we start, I want to say thank you to Kenju, Aweru, Dunia, Mapenzi, Njuguna Wagishuru, Solomon Dubi, and Gavin, and everybody who is attending, but especially the people who are making this possible. Thank you so much. Of course, Miguel, for producing this content. Catherine, how are you doing today?
I'm awesome.
Man, it's been a while since we connected. I know that you know, you're one of the people who've supported One Vibe here in Seattle since I came, and it's really an honor to be sitting with you in Cafe Avole to talk about your story.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm honored. Thank you.
So how did you end up in Seattle?
How did I end up in Seattle? Great question. So born and raised in Kenya, obviously.
Yeah.
I moved out to Seattle when I was 21 years old. And the back story of how I got here is my mom and dad were in a sort of domestic relationship kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's her story to tell. But long story short, she ended up in Seattle, was living on the west side in Port Orchard. And at the time, she was able to file asylum for my brother and my two younger brothers and myself because we were underage at the time.
Right.
But the whole process didn't go through until I was 21. And so that's in June of 2005. Yeah.
Wow. So you've been in Seattle since June of 2005.
Yes.
Man, I just want to, share with our audiences and our viewers that Diaspora Connect is a program that helps demystify the story of Africans in the diaspora, the relationship between Africans and African Americans. Right. And we're really privileged to have both communities in the audience tonight.
So awesome.
Now, do you have African American friends?
I do actually, and it's funny, I will go back. The very first, I think, event that I attended from One Vibe Africa was the Black Collaboration. And that was so good, so eye-opening. Because maybe from my perspective, I didn't have that view of like the struggle between Africans and African Americans.
Right.
I thought everybody was cool, but just listening to the content on that day, I was like kind of eye-opening for me. But I do, I have friends from all over, really. I am a connector by nature.
Right.
I connect with anybody and everybody that's gonna connect with me.
What makes it easy for you to connect with people?
I think I love people's stories. I think everybody has something to share and something to offer. And so I love asking questions. Normally I like being on this end, being the one asking questions. But I love getting to know people. Because I think we all have a story.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Man, so you said earlier that, in 2015, June 2015.
2005.
2005? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's 5 years later is when I came to Seattle. I came here in June 2010.
Okay.
And so you and your younger brother, got asylum through your mom and moved here.
Yes.
Now, how was the adjustment for you? Can you just give us a little bit of how it was for you from, let's say just the first year of you arriving and how you settled?
Well, I'll start from the day I landed at SeaTac Airport. My mom at the time was taking classes. She was going to a community college in Bremerton. And so she had turned her phone off. And so we land, and in her mind, she thought we were coming the next day.
So you landed with your brother?
Myself and my two younger brothers. Oh. So there's a gap between my brother and the one that follows. There's a 7-year gap. And then between me and my last born, there's a 10-year gap.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody at the time I looked like I was 16,
Yeah.
even though I was 21.
Yeah.
But we sort of were treated good, so that was a good thing.
Yeah.
Unaccompanied minor style,
Yeah.
Yeah, so my mom's phone was off. She was
Yeah.
in class, and I remember being there, and I don't know why I didn't even have any money on me.
Yeah.
Like I just thought, hey, I'm going to America. My mom's waiting for me. So I remember like asking for an Asian lady. Actually, I was like, hey, do you mind if I use your phone to call my mom? And she didn't pick up. So long story short, we were in the airport for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, until she got off class and obviously heard the voice messages and sent my uncle, who lived across, just literally across from the airport, and came and picked us up. And then she came later. So.
Man, so when you think about home and then you think about the diaspora, there is only room for imagination.
Oh yes.
There's only room. A lot of the time, there's a mason. Mason, fundi
Yes.
wa kujenga, fundi wa kujenga nyumba.
Right.
there's a fundi from home that was helping me with a project.
Okay.
And he called me one time. I always just give people my number because I don't want to be like, oh, he's now in America.
Right.
He's hiding,
Yeah.
So I gave him my number, and then randomly one day he calls me and he's like, hey man, I want you to bring me to America so that I can build houses there and I'll pay you back. I was like, man, you have no idea. You have no idea what it is like.
Yeah.
Because I started imagining how you would start building houses here, like how you would start.
Yeah, stone versus wood. Yeah.
And I didn't want to kill his dream.
Oh,
I was like, let me think about it, because I've never managed to bring any of my siblings here. Right. In fact, this year we tried to bring almost 20 people for, Upstream Festival and Road to Madaraka workshops.
Yeah.
And we were bringing celebrities, well-known people, Nazizi, Fundi Frank. You know how many people made it?
How many?
3.
Wow.
Only
out of
3
20.
people out of 20-something.
Wow.
Nairobi Horns could not get their visa. Samini from Ghana could not get their visa. So it's really a privilege to be in America.
Right. Yeah.
At the same time, when you're here, you miss home. You miss home, and it's a privilege to be in Africa.
Yeah.
So it's always a place of being torn between where do you want to be.
Yeah.
So let's say you had all the money that you needed, and
is there a check? Okay, yeah, all the money.
Everything was possible for you.
Yeah.
Money is no issue. Would you choose to be here, or would you go back home?
I think I think I would probably go around the world. I wouldn't say I would stay in America or go to Kenya. I think if I had all the, if we're gonna go big, let's go big. If I'm actually, one of my dreams is I want to travel to a country in each continent. I want to be able to do that. That's one of my dreams on my dream board. So if that was the case, but I actually want to go back, because I think you asked me a question about my first year when I first moved here.
Yes.
So I'll take you back to 2005. So both my brothers went to school, and of course I didn't have a car. We lived in Port Orchard, where it was predominantly white Caucasians that lived there. And it was...
By the way, just to create context for people who don't know where Port Orchard is, how far is it from Seattle?
So it is... So you need you take a ferry from Seattle, West Seattle. You need a ferry, so you go across the water.
Yeah.
Driving around is probably a 2-hour commute. Yeah. So a 2-hour commute. Well, that was maybe because there was only one bridge at the time. Now there's 2. I don't know. I haven't been down there in a while, but I think it was about 2-hour drive.
So ni kama Ushago.
Yep. So literally, yes.
Ushago is like rural area.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful place, but one of the things that I remember about that year specifically is I actually fell into a very deep depression. So we had come, June. So June is the summer. So there's seasons here. Yeah. So the summer was good. Everybody
it's
was
fine.
out. The
it's
sun's out.
A lot of people come in the summer thinking that Seattle is always going to be like this. Oh, wait for the winter. You feel like taking off.
Yeah. So then the fall comes, and my brothers go to school.
Yeah.
and I still wasn't in college at the time, so I was home alone in this house by myself. It's dark at like 4 p.m. and I'm like, what is going on? And it was severe actually, because I remember my mom was like, you probably need to see somebody, and I did see a counselor who said, oh, turn on all the lights in the house, make sure it's bright, and because my personality, I'm very bubbly and I'm very, so when my mom's like, this girl, there's something going on here, and she couldn't understand what that was, and I had felt maybe I didn't know anybody in Port Orchard. It was just me, and I'm like I said, I'm a connector, so with no people, it's like, what is
What's
going on here?
It's the lifestyle in America encloses you, it puts you in a box, literally. From home to work, from work to home, because the amount of money you have limits what you can do, you know. And then most jobs here, before you work for like 6 years, you can't get good enough vacation to go anywhere, or even enough money. It's literally hand to mouth, and you're a nurse, right?
Yes. So currently I work in pediatrics as a nurse. I work down in Tacoma, so we're like about 30 minutes from where we're at right now. I've been doing that for the last 3 years.
So how did you fight from this depression to being a nurse?
I connected with people. No, I remember. So after the whole kind of depression thing, my mom kept asking me, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And at the time, I really wanted to travel. Again, it goes back to my dream. I wanted to travel, so I thought, flight attendant, anything. I mean, we're in America, anything is possible, right? So I was like, I'm gonna, apply for the flight attendant thing, and that didn't work. And then, but Alaska was hiring for a back office type position.
Alaska Airlines?
Yes. Okay. And so I remember going to SeaTac.
That's like an endorsement. They should sponsor this.
Well, I only said Alaska. You kind of finished it.
Well, Alaska could mean many things.
That's true.
It could mean,
the
Seattle,
state Alaska.
Or marijuana too.
Oh.
There is an Alaskan strain.
Oh,
interesting. Seriously.
Okay, I don't even know what that
It's
is.
the truth.
Okay.
It's the truth. It's Seattle.
Yeah,
but you have to.
We're specifying. Okay, so Alaska Airlines.
Alaska,
So I went and I applied. They have this onboarding class that you have to memorize every city by their code. So like Seattle is SEA, right?
Yeah.
And then and I was so confused. I'm like, why? Let's just use the whole name. Like, why do we need... But anyway, needless to say, that did not work because I failed the test. But I ended up just getting into healthcare, which is something that people in our community, that's kind of... And originally, that's what I wanted to veer off from, because everybody was kind of going in that direction. And so, if you can't...
What are your views about that, though? Because quite a few of our community members are, is it nursing? CNA?
Yep.
CNA?
So they're in the healthcare. Most of them. Certified care assistants, nursing assistants.
When sometimes being in the corporate world is isolating, because majority of our people are in CNA, or they are in
nurses.
They're doing jobs that you can't find them. And so, if you're in the corporate world, you're alone.
Wow.
And you're struggling to be heard.
Right.
If there were even two other people who understood, the struggle would be easier.
I've never thought
I don't know how we could have more of our people as nurses, more of our people being seen in the media, more of our people at Amazon and Microsoft.
We
need to infiltrate this corporate, because our work ethic, our hustle, the street hustle that we have from home, if we take it to these companies, we stand out.
Right.
Even in the CNA jobs, we stand out because of how crazy hard workers we are. And this is not just Africans or Kenyans, but even if you look at other people of color, we work extremely hard, but we are in the box.
Right. How do we get out of the box?
Yes.
Yeah. So, sorry, what was the question?
The question is, how did you get out of the box? How did you get into nursing school?
How did I get? Okay.
Let's say you're talking to a girl from Kenya who intends to come to the US,
Right.
and is not sure what she's going to do with herself,
Right.
how she's going. Imagine you're doing this over again.
Okay. I think if I was doing this over again, or somebody that's coming, I think the question should be flipped. I think we ask people, like now I know, but we ask people, what do you want to do? I think that's the wrong question to be asking. I think the question we should be asking is, how do you want to live, and find a vehicle that's going to give you the lifestyle. Because I think we struggle a lot with like we don't have time for family. We don't have time for the things that we value. Like we're very communal people, and I think because of the box that we've kind of sort of gotten ourselves into, we don't do the things that we want to do. I was just actually just last night I was talking to a friend of mine who, just is recently going through a divorce,
Right.
and I know that just based on that conversation, it was people going in two totally different directions, working
Right.
two different shifts. You
Right.
have kids in between,
Right.
and so communication goes
Totally.
down, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, I would be like, what kind of life do you want?
Yeah.
And then from there, if okay, I want to do something that's going to allow me to have time with my family, that's going to give me a good, income, then find a vehicle that's going to do that for you. But I think we, and obviously our parents also they kind of push us. Oh, there's money in healthcare. Yeah, but at the cost of what?
Yeah.
At the cost of a good life. And
It reminds me how our parents, this is probably common in the African American communities. Our parents, even before you finish primary school, they're like, you're going to be a doctor.
Right. Like, well, yeah.
And when they introduce you to their friends, they're
Yeah.
like, oh, this one is going to be a doctor, this
Yeah.
one is going to be a professor.
Yeah.
So, you have this thing in the back of your head that, oh,
Right.
daddy wants me to be a doctor,
And yeah.
And then you end up being an actor because acting is really what you want to do. So,
Right. Yeah.
I was just reading, the story of a boxer.
Okay.
Boxing is becoming huge. Like female boxers are becoming many in Kenya now.
Oh.
And I was reading the story of one that she was boxing secretly. And her mom only learned about her when she was in the news that, oh, my daughter is a boxer.
Wow.
So
Double life.
I know. So, we are now growing up. For me, for a while I was going to workplaces and I was the youngest guy. I was always very proud. I was like, everybody,
Yep.
I was everybody's darling.
Right.
But now I'm like everybody's daddy, Seriously.
Yeah.
If you had the chance to, let's say you're in Kenya or you're in Nigeria and you have, you're a traveler, you're already having this idea of traveling
Right, yes.
all over the place.
It's gonna happen.
Now let's
Well,
say it has
speaking
happened.
yeah, okay, yeah,
You're in Nigeria or Africa somewhere, and you're meeting with girls.
Okay.
You're giving them advice about how it has been here for you,
Right.
and how you think that they could either become a nurse or they could become who they really want to be, not who their parents hope that they can become.
Yeah.
But how they can pursue their dreams. For example, Lupita Nyong'o.
Yeah.
When she was still at Kenya National Theatre, she was just a girl. We used to pass by her and we used to just say, oh, your dad is a politician.
Yeah.
And we didn't know. She surprised people,
vision,
She
yeah.
surprised people.
Yeah.
And Fela Kuti, probably his friends were like, oh, this guy is going crazy. What is he singing about? And now he's long gone. And we are fanatics. We are huge fans of him.
Yeah.
Someone like, if you think about the Burkina Faso president, what was his name? This revolutionary leader from Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara.
Oh.
Now people are wearing his t-shirts. If you look at Bobby Wine, Boniface Mwangi, they're wearing Sankara's hats. And it's because he persisted. He saw a path and he was like, this is my path and I'm going to take it.
Yep.
And I feel that, there's not enough of these types of people in our communities anymore.
Yeah.
I see you as one of these people.
Okay.
And I feel that you should just give us a story of how you address this community of girls that have been looking forward to seeing you.
So I would advise them, like you said, like, what is the thing? I'm actually reading a book right now. It's called the Purpose Playbook, and the whole the synopsis of the book is just talking about finding the thing that you were created to fulfill. So if you know the line, like whatever it is that you want to do, if it's impact, a lot of us want impact, but if you like find that thing, the first thing that I would tell them is embrace failure, because it's in your failures that you're gonna know who you really are. And just be persistent. Just be persistent. Go after that dream, because nobody great, I believe nobody great ever achieves greatness just by like, oh, I tried one time and here I am. No, it's like, just keep going. The other thing I would tell them is associate yourself with people who have a common vision, like-minded, people that are people that are moving in the same direction. And I wish I knew this, or maybe there was a conversation like this when I had just first moved here, because had I known what I know now, I think I would have changed my association. I would have done things differently. I would have found different friends. But it's my story. I embrace it. I needed to go through that to grow, to become the person that I was meant to be, and share my experiences. But association is huge. I believe, association,
and
embrace failure,
persistent.
be persistent. They're
That's
not
like,
very,
It's like the definition of my story and one vibe, you know?
Yeah.
It's, it's...
And you guys are doing amazing things.
God,
Yeah.
You have no idea. It's what you see. But what goes on in the background? At 4 a.m. this morning, I was texting Kenju, I was like, bro... when you have a second, I was assuming he's already awake, When you have a second...
Like, if I'm awake, you should be awake.
No. Yeah. I did this because, 2 days prior, he texted me at 5 in the morning, and I was like, oh, he's awake. So I was like, okay, maybe... And I've become used to that routine, you know?
Yeah.
When I go to work, I'm like a soldier, Because for me, I work for this corporate where a majority of people are not African people.
Right.
You are alone there. So the moment I open the door, I'm like, I'm here to fight for Africa. I'm here to fight for all Africans. So the moment I deal with any situation, I'm like, what will my mother say? What will the chief in my area say? What will Njuguna think about this, And then sometime after once a week, we always come here at Cafe Avole with Solomon. We share ideas. Right. And we, sometimes we imagine things that we know we cannot achieve, but we just continue imagining,
the power of the dream,
And I'm telling you, having these types of conversation is what has kept One Vibe going. Yeah. And the number of failures we've had is way more than the successes that people see. Our failures make us successful, and for me, I take this from my mom. I have a lot of respect for women because I relate all women to my mom. Yeah. And sometimes I tell my wife, you're like my mom, and she gets mad. Because, she knows that my mom is very tough and also is protective of us, especially in the initial stages of our relationship. Yeah. My mom is no joke, So she's like, how can you say I'm like your mom? I'm like, no, I'm just saying the other side, And then she's like, okay, we are good then. Yeah. We are good then. Now, earlier I was trying to dig a little deep about your relationship with African Americans.
Yes.
When I'm back home, a lot of people want to know how we relate with African Americans. Right. A lot of people want African Americans to go to Kenya. Yes. A lot of people, imagine that all African Americans are like 50 Cent, Yeah. or I'm serious, because they only see
what they see on TV.
Yeah, they're like, oh, these guys all have tattoos and all these jewels, Yeah. But then you come to this community, you find really humble people. And people who are struggling just as much as we are. There are ghettos here that are literally policed 24 hours, at least in Kenya. The police there are people we know, We joke with them, and sometimes they chase you and then they leave you alone, Here, they don't chase you, they shoot you, Thanks again for watching. You're watching Diaspora Connect on One Vibe TV on YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel. Here with Catherine Nyarumbwa. Man, you know, we were just talking about police brutality and how it's different here in the US and back in Africa, specifically Kenya. I talk about things that I'm most familiar with, you know, and I was saying that sometime we would go, you know, at home when I was in high school. I would sometimes leave school on Friday and go home on Sunday. I would just go and play different soccer tournaments and sleep at my friends' places. But in the course of this, we would interact with police and we would make fun of them. They would chase us. Yeah. And we would, like, there's a time where we knew the area really well, better than the police. Yeah. So we would pretend that there's a fence and we would try to bend, and then they would come and they would bend too. There's no fence. Wow. Then where there is the real fence is where we knew exactly how to dive in between the barbed wire. And then they don't know. They think, oh, these kids are crazy. They'll run into the barbed wire. It was like rubber band. You know the way rubber band, you know, catapult? The way catapult can throw you back, the fence can throw you back like that. Have you heard a policeman cry? Like, like they're caught off guard, you know? And then we're on the other side of the fence, we're just laughing and running because, like, this is the kind of fun we had. Wow. This is ghetto, you know? Someone like Josiah has been there, you know? I had a girlfriend. Her name was Sue. She used to work for Safaricom.
Hi,
you know?
Sue. She's watching.
No. Long time ago. Now, Safaricom had just launched as a company and she was working for Safaricom. She's like a legend in the community. But I'm from the ghetto. Do you know how she used to get to my place? No. I would put her above the fence. We had like a stone fence. So imagine a girl from Safaricom climbing a fence to get home. Wow. And my window was like the opposite of my mom's door. Wow. So girls were never coming to our place because my mom knew everything that was going on. Yeah. But then Sue would jump over the fence and she'd come to our place. I would get her out of, you know, our place early in the morning. It was complete ghetto, fabulous. You know?
She was persistent.
Oh yeah, you have to you know, to date a rude boy, you have to be persistent. You know? Yeah, you know, I was a reggae DJ. One Vibe was a reggae movement, you know. You know, I was traveling Mombasa, Nairobi, Eldoret with people like Junior Dread, and you know, we were playing on Metro FM on Sundays. So, you know, when we are here in Seattle and a lot of people see how persistent with doing events and trying to make things better. Yeah. We came from the struggle and we're trying to make it just a little better for the people who are still there. Yeah. And what's interesting is that the situation there does not change as fast as it changes here. You know, here you could say, forget about my family, forget about everybody. I'm going to work every day for 16 hours. Like, you know, my friend's dad, you are sharing the story of your dad earlier, that is working 16 hours for 20 years, you know. Yeah. And you can make a lot of money here, but home you could work 18 hours and make very little, you know. One friend of mine sent me a message and a voicemail, and just 2 days ago. And it takes a lot of courage to break me down and make me cry. And this guy, you know, I was in college with him in Nairobi. He was working for an insurance company, someone with integrity. Right. And he married a girl from the same college we were in. And then suddenly he's saying salary delayed. He has 3 kids. They've been kicked out of the house. This is in Nairobi. He's from Mombasa, you know. Yeah. And he sent me such a sad message. And because I live, you know, hand to mouth, I can't help him. Right. So, you know, I had to send him a text message and tell him, bro, I can't help. Then I tried to find a friend in Nairobi who could help him. Yeah. And that friend is in a similar situation. So I'm like, what's going on, you know? Yeah. So it's true that we are privileged here.
So privileged.
But what can we do with that privilege?
Wow. You know, and that's really unfortunate. And I try whenever I have pity parties or like a pity party starting to come, that's what I tell myself. I tell myself, Kathy, you are living in the one of the top nations in the world, if not the top nation in the world.
Yeah.
What do you have to be mad about? You know, like just get out of whatever it is that you're going through. And but I think what we need to, charity begins at home. You know, we've heard that saying so many times.
Yeah.
And I think we need to get especially when it comes to finances. I'm going to talk about that because you kind of brought that up.
Please.
When it comes to finances, and I was at a place in my 20s where nobody had taught me, hey, maybe you should learn how to budget your money. You know, moving here as a 21-year-old, you're getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, but not knowing what to do with it, how to steward it. You know, how to steward it properly, you can mess yourself up. And I was in a hole just because, you know, there was no financial education. I was not, you know, nobody was teaching me. You know, I got in debt because everybody I was around, again, association, everybody, it's so okay in America to be in debt. You know, everybody finances everything around
it's
here.
It's a country in debt.
Yeah.
America has so much money that they need to pay China.
So,
you know?
So I think number one, starting by educating yourself or finding people that are going to educate you so that you can have that, you know, number one, get your house in order and then be able to give.
Yeah.
I think it's huge. And going back to the whole box thing is learning how to get yourself out of that box.
Yeah.
Because as long as you're in that box, I don't think you're going to be able to do a lot of the things that you want to do. That's that's what I think.
So you're telling me earlier that you're not on social media.
I am not on social media.
So how can people reach you?
Call me. I'm a connector. But I actually enjoy this more.
Yeah.
I like face-to-face. The reason behind me getting off of social media is I found that, you know, social media is very vague, and I get that there's people that do need to be on social. You're one vibe. You need that.
I have to
That's
be
your
on social media.
Yeah,
it's like there's no shortcut.
Right. But for me, I wanted to go back to my authenticity. I wanted to be that connector because I would find myself. I would think about somebody, and then I would just say, oh, I'll just look them up, and then I'll go on there, you know, and they posted something. Oh, they must be doing good, you know. And 2015, that's when I made the decision to get off of social media. A young man committed suicide in Tacoma.
From which part?
From our community. So a Kenyan man committed suicide. He hanged himself in a park. He had his whole family here. And that's actually how I started getting out in the community, is because when that happened, it hit hard to me because he was the same age as my brother. So he could have been my brother. He was my brother. He is my brother. And I just, you know, I started kind of getting like opening up my mind to, you know, like mental health and there's a lot of depression. And again, it goes back to this box that we're in. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to get off of social media. If I think about you in any capacity, I am going to call you.
Yeah.
I am going to text you. And that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years. And I've found that it's more fulfilling for me to do that.
Yeah.
And I find that I get to connect with people on a different level.
Man.
It's not superficial. It's like when somebody's I was thinking about my friend I was telling you about that I was at her house earlier. Yesterday, I thought about her and I called her, and sure enough, she actually needed to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And so that's I just go with that, and it's been good so far. So
it's super important to have that type of attitude, you know. I work closely with Kenju, you know, and sometime, you know, for a while he was going through a rough period, which we all go through.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was going through a rough period. So while I was calling him, sometime we would meet in person. Like the last time we were here, last Thursday, we talked. Then the moment he got in his car and I got in my car, I called him and we just talked until we got home again.
Yeah.
and then
we're hungry for connection.
It's
there's
crazy.
so much social media, but people are hungry for true, authentic connections.
Yeah. But social media is important too.
It is important,
because,
but I think that and I am not saying that it's not. No,
this is why it's important.
Yes.
At least to me.
Yes.
Social media is a way that people make money. You know?
Oh yeah.
There are a lot of Kenyans that actually generate a lot of income from social media.
Yeah.
Africans, you know, there are social media models.
Yeah.
The people just model, they take pictures, they put it there, and then eventually brands start paying them to do that,
Right.
you know. But then there are also problems with social media, especially where the community has become numb to the content being shared on social media. So the quality of what you share on social media is important. But I'm not trying to, you know, to ignore the plight of our people here. You know, there's a young man from Kenya that was also, you know, he froze to death after, you know, overdosing on drugs in Tacoma as well. So our community needs this conversation. That's a huge part of why we are doing Diaspora Connect, so that people back home can also reach out to their people here.
Absolutely.
And people here can, we need to reach out to each other, you know. And that's why Avole Night is every Friday, so that you can, instead of just talking to your friend, bring them here.
Just come here. Yeah, there you go.
So that we eat together.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we want to open this conversation to our audience. You know, in the audience, just so you know, we have the owner of Cafe Avole, Solomon Dubi. We have we have Njuguna Gishuru from the physics. We have man, I can't mention everybody, but I just want to ask you guys if you have any question for me or for Catherine. You know, this is now a time for us to have a conversation together. You know, it was really exciting at the beginning of Avole Night for us to describe what our names mean. I didn't have a chance to describe what my name meant.
There
Okelo.
you go, yeah.
Okelo means to bring, you know, to bring.
Okay.
So like to bring a gift, you know. So that's the essence of my name. But then it's funny how bullying was also common, but we didn't think of it as bullying. You know, we a lot of people used to say Okelo Ruath, you know. So Okelo Ruath was a way people are making fun of me because, you know, when you're going to marry a girl, you take a big bull, you know. So the bigger the bull you take, you know, the happier the family of the girl will be with you. So they just used to joke that Okelo Ruath, you know. They didn't take the meaning of my name seriously, and it used to drive me nuts. So that's Okelo for you. Any questions? Yes, Solomon.
My question is for anybody to answer. Importantly, the topic is future. I feel a connection to that. I'm sorry, I'll speak louder.
Yes, please.
What do we envision for our future,
Man, for me, right now, I mean, this mindset of Afro-optimism, you know, that's why I was saying the moment I get to this 9-to-5 job, it's not the most exciting thing to do. But I go there as an African, you know, who is passionate about Africa, not Kenya, not Kisumu, not my family, but Africa, because Africa needs advocates, you know, people who wake up and say, I'm going to fight for Africa today. Yeah. What do you have for me? I'm here for Africa, you know. If you go there and you're fighting for a bigger thing than you'll get a bigger share. But if you go there that you want something just for yourself and your family and your country, you'll get it, but just for that. So for me, my attitude these days, even with my job, you know, I was being interviewed for this job as a mailroom person, a messenger, someone who is picking letters and parcels and taking it to everybody in the organization. Then I was sitting down one day in this mailroom after everybody left. You know, it was not a very fun job. Everybody left the job. And I was the newest person, so I was left there in this mailroom. And I said, I'm not leaving this place the same way I found it. I want to make this the best mailroom that has ever been seen in this company. And the moment I said that to myself, I took over the whole building, you know. I would go to the CEO and tell him, my name is Simon Okelo, and my goal is to open a new office for this company in Africa, you know. What do you think about that? And then he's like, you know, he does not know what to do, you know. And then he's like, how about we set up a meeting? Then I'm like, great, you know. So I set up meetings and built a group of mentors, like top executives of this company that continue helping me develop up to now, you know. And it's because when I talk to him, I'm talking to him like an African, you know. I'm very optimistic about Africa, especially because I've worked in over 6 countries in Africa, and I've seen the same passion, the same ghetto, you know, hustle that we have from our ghettos in Kenya. Liberia is the same. You know, our friends in Liberia, Ghana, they have the same drive. South Sudan, but their options are limited. And now, here I am in the mailroom where I can walk 13 floors and talk to these people that run a company that is all over the world, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, one vibe can be like this too, you know. So for me, I use this type of motivation to continue doing Madaraka, you know.
Yeah.
Njuguna knows this very well. You know, sometimes we organize Madaraka without any budget. We say we are going to do this Madaraka. We are doing this for our people. And then help starts coming. But the moment you wait, you can wait.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
What is your thought though?
So the question was what our vision for Africa connection. You know, I actually have had the same thought about being. I think of being an ambassador of Kenya. I know I'm not the ambassador of Kenya, but I feel like the reason I came here was not necessarily for me to come and make money. I feel like I am that connection with African Americans to Africa because I grew up there, and so I'll explain two facets. So at my job, I work in pediatrics as a nurse, and a lot of the kids that I see at my clinic are Caucasians, most Asians. So I don't even see that many African American children. But I kind of had a mindset change. I was having a conversation with a friend, and it made me realize that these kids, I am probably, because they're newborns, you know, and then you see them develop and grow. And I'm literally the first African person that they're seeing. And for me, that was huge. After I discovered that, I was like, this child doesn't know I'm from Kenya. They don't know I'm from Africa. When they see me, they know that I'm African American. And so I started embracing that. And what is the thought that I am leaving in this child's mind? What is that first thought that when they grow up, because it all goes to the subconscious, they're going to remember the very first time they saw a black person. And I took it really personal. And I make sure that I'm leaving a good imprint on their mind about an African American, because I know there was a great price that was paid for me to be here. Yeah. And so that's kind of my way of giving back in that aspect. And my second question, or my second answer to your question, as it pertains to the future of Africa, I think giving back to what brought me up. For me, I have a vision of entrepreneurship here and in Kenya, and I wanna be able to bring back resources, money. Let's just say it. Let's call it as it is, because that's what they need. I want to be able to fund things that there you go.
But then, if we also simplify it a little, for me, the biggest value I can give anybody is my story.
Yep.
And my time, and to encourage somebody by having an immediate positive impact on them, you know. Every time I meet Kenju, I make sure he's inspired, he feels motivated the moment we leave, and now he has started doing that to me, and I feel motivated whenever I interact with him. Every time I interact with Solomon, Juguna, and this is becoming infectious. At work, you know, some of the people I work with are like, you're too nice. You're too nice. You need to be a little aggressive, you know. And I'm like, I don't know how to be that, because I used to be very, like, I wanted everything for myself, you know, and it became too bad. Like, there were a bunch of people I was working with that were there during that phase of my life that didn't like it. But this version of me, they experienced it before. And so I had a moment like 3 years of my life where I was like, my ego got the best of me, you know. But now I've become so vulnerable, and so like, man, being away from home teaches you so much. It teaches you that you can be so powerless. You know, you can be nothing, but you're still something. You know, because at the end of the day, even if you have no money, you have no car, you're completely nothing, but you have your story. You're still sitting there and you're still recording it, you're memorizing it, and the moment you start even writing it, it becomes powerful. The moment you start posting, people respond. You're like, what am I saying, you know. So it's all in us. It's all in us, and we choose how we want to use our power, you know, because we are all very, very powerful, you know. For me, my mother never told me that she thinks I would be a doctor, she thinks I would be this and that. She always told me, I think you're going to be a very important person.
Yeah, that's good.
That's all.
And now you are. Yeah.
I want to be a very important person. Yeah. That's all. That's what is important for me, you know, just to be an important person, you know. But man, I just want to say thank you to you all for spending, you know, most of your evening today with us. And you know, to people who are watching this on YouTube, I just want to say thank you for watching. Next week we are going to do this again. We are going to publish this on Thursday. Then next Friday we're having Ghanaian food. I deeply appreciate you, Solomon, for opening your space for us to have this again. So with that, unless there's one last question, then we'll close. Yes.
My question is specifically for you. How do you motivate yourself to constantly go to that moment of inaction where you feel so overwhelmed by the elephant in the room, where you feel like there's so much things that I need to accomplish back home, whether it's back home or here? How do you constantly find motivation to move out of that moment? Okay, tell yourself, I can do more. Like, there's something I can do. How have you been able to do that from the time to time?
Thank you, man. Honestly, a couple of reasons. One that is always the underlying force is my mom, you know, because my mom was the second wife in a polygamist marriage. And, you know, before I moved here, I didn't think it was abusive, but now I'm learning that it was abusive, but that's not important. What is important is that she inspired me by how she struggled with us, not only her children, but the children of the first wife and orphans that she brought to stay with us. You know, she trusted us and we trusted her. Even when we didn't have food, what we had was what we knew that we had, and we were very confident that this is enough, you know. But she used to fight, you know. She would leave her job at the district hospital in Kisumu. She would go and buy nyanya, you know, tomatoes, wholesale, and then go and sell it at the bus stage in Kisumu on her head. Sometime, you know, the city askaris would push her, she would fall down, all the tomatoes would scatter. We would pick them up and give them back to her. You know, she grew that business to, you know, she would take sacks of maize and beans and lentils and lay it in front of our house. That's on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But after work, on these other days, she would do the hawking. Then this business grew to become the distributor of milk and bread in our entire neighborhood. So I had a bicycle. Every day I would wake up at 2 a.m. in the morning and supply our neighborhood. I had my zone, you know. And then we had other people with bicycles too, you know. So I used to fight, because if you didn't fight, you'd not eat. That was rule number one. So I always feel guilty the moment I'm eating, even now, and I didn't feel like I worked hard enough. I won't even have the appetite, you know. But if I worked hard, I would eat everything. I would take extras. I would eat everything. I would be like, I worked for this food, you know. Yeah. But then, you know, when again I became the older brother in our family. I lost my stepbrother, I lost my brother, and all of them were to violence and gang and alcoholism. Everybody started looking up to me. How is he going to end up? He's going to be a thief like his brother. He's going to be a gangster like his brother. So I was like, I'm not going to be that. I'm going to create my own story, and this is what I'm doing now. I'm trying to define myself, So I'm not letting my situation define who I'm going to be. I'm just going to fight, And I'm, even in the morning sometime when I go running, I run for Africa, So I feel like I can run faster, because I'm not running for myself, Everything I do, I just feel like I'm doing it for a bigger reason, And I'm not afraid, Fear is also one other thing that somehow I don't have it anymore, because I'm not afraid to fail. Fear comes from being afraid of failing, So for me, it's those, not being afraid, knowing that I'm fighting for a bigger purpose than myself, whether it's God or Africa, something bigger than myself. And then my mother, I just want her to be happy, even though we are not well off. I want her to know that my son is a hard worker, he's fighting, and these things, these values that I had, somebody has them too, there's nothing big or special or profound about what I do with One Vibe. It's only persistence, and accountability, just being accountable to myself, I know that I have a 9-to-5 job that I have to be at by 6:30, so I have to wake up at 3 most mornings, and I have to work out, because if you're going so hard and you don't take care of yourself, then it all falls apart, So no matter how busy I am, I have to find a space. Sometimes I just lay down on the carpet in the family room downstairs after my wife and kids sleep. I just lay there and I just stare at the ceiling and do nothing for like half an hour when the weight is so heavy, when I know that I'm broke, One Vibe is broke, there is so much to do. Then when you sit there, these problems leave you alone. You're just there alone. Nobody's even bothering you. So I'm like, for 30 minutes I have no problem. So that's self-care, no matter how little it is. But also finding things that challenge you. Like the job I do, it's so technical that sometimes I just cry when I'm alone. I'm like, how did I figure this out? Because most of the people doing this job have masters and bachelors. I don't have any of that. I'm straight from the ghetto. But they say this is the work you need to do, and you have to learn all of this to do it. Then I say, great, let's do it. I don't hesitate. No, I just say, how did you learn how to do it? Okay, let's do it. Show me. And then I look for the brightest people in this company that I work for. Them, they become my friends. And they love what we do. What we do is very unique, What we do with One Vibe is special. People learn about it. They want to be a part of it. They don't understand how we do it, So we just have to keep working. I'll say thank you to everybody for attending Avole Night, and everybody that is watching Diaspora Connect. Please subscribe to One Vibe TV, and please know that we truly appreciate you, and we are looking forward to seeing you at Avole Night every Friday. Thank you for creating the time to attend.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite.
Say I'm leaving, walking out. It's not impossible to make something of yourself. It's not impossible charting out your destiny. It's not impossible to not tolerate any